Welcome to Illicit BL Stories. If you're here for obsession, tension, and feelings that ruin your day, please like, subscribe, and share. Now let's get a little illegal. Rain hammered the tin roof of my cabin like it wanted to break in. I'd chosen this spot deep in the northern forests for exactly that reason, because no one came here. No pack patrols, no royal decrees, no nosy betas asking why an unmated Omega like me wasn't registered in the capital's database. I'd forged papers years ago claiming beta status, swallowed suppressants like candy, and built a life where my scent stayed buried under pine smoke and solitude. That Friday night, though, solitude cracked open. A knock on my door cut through the storm. I froze, knife halfway through the onion I was chopping. No one knew this place existed. I'd made sure of it. Another knock came heavier. Then a voice, low and rough, carrying over the wind. "Open the door. I'm not here to hurt you." I didn't believe him. Alphas said that a lot before they did whatever they wanted. I gripped the knife tighter and cracked the door just enough to see him. He was tall, too tall, broad shoulders straining a soaked black coat. Dark hair plastered to his forehead, eyes the color of storm clouds, sharp and unreadable. Blood trickled from a gash on his temple, mixing with rainwater. He looked like he'd fought a war and lost interest halfway through. "You're bleeding," I said stupidly. "I noticed." His gaze flicked over me, assessing. "Let me in. 5 minutes. Then I'll leave." I should have slammed the door. But the storm was vicious and something in his scent, faint under the copper of blood and rain, hit me like a punch. Rich, commanding, almost overwhelming even through my suppressants. Alpha. Strong one. Against every instinct screaming run, I stepped aside. He ducked under the low beam, dripping everywhere. The cabin felt smaller instantly. He peeled off the coat, revealing a torn shirt clinging to muscle that spoke of training, not vanity. A silver ring on his left hand caught the lamplight, royal crest. My stomach dropped. "You're bleeding on your floor," he finished, pressing a hand to his side. Fresh red bloomed through his fingers. "Got a first aid kit?" I moved on autopilot, fetching the box from under the sink. He sat at my tiny table without asking, wincing as he lifted his shirt. The wound was deep, claw-like. Not a normal fight. "Werewolf rogues," I asked, cleaning the gash. "Something like that." His voice was clipped, but his eyes tracked every move I made. "You live alone out here?" "Obviously. No pack. No mate." I bristled. "I don't need either." He studied me longer than felt comfortable. "You smell strange." My heart stuttered. Suppressants were supposed to mask everything. Must be the herbs I burn. He didn't push it. Instead, he leaned back as I bandaged him, jaw tight. "The storm is not letting up. I'll stay till morning, then go." "You're asking?" "I'm telling you." A faint smirk ghosted his lips, the first crack in his stone expression. "Unless you want to drag a half-dead man into the rain." I didn't. Not really. So I nodded, muttered something about the couch, and went back to cooking like having royalty bleed in my kitchen was normal. He ate the stew I shoved at him in silence, devouring it like he hadn't seen food in days. I watched him from the corner, trying not to stare at the way his throat moved, or how his presence filled every corner of the room. When he finished, he looked up. "I'm Kai," he said. That was a lie. The king's name was Caius, but close enough for a stranger. "Elliot," I replied. That was my real name. How stupid of me. "Elliot." He tested it, voice dropping lower. "Thank you." I shrugged, cleared the plates. The storm raged outside, but inside felt too quiet. Too charged. He tried the couch, but it groaned under his weight. After 10 minutes of him shifting uncomfortably, I sighed. "Take the bed." "I'll take the couch." "No, it's fine." I said no. He stood, towering again. "You've done enough." We argued, short, pointless. He won because he simply walked to the bedroom door and waited until I gave up. I lay on the couch staring at the ceiling, listening to him settle. His scent lingered everywhere now, seeping past my defenses. Warm. Protective. Dangerous. By midnight, the pain meds I'd given him kicked in. He slept deeply, I could tell by the steady rhythm of his breathing. I should have slept too. Instead, I crept to the doorway, watching him in the dim moonlight. Shirtless now, bandages stark against tan skin. Scars crisscrossed his chest from old battles. A king's burdens. I turned to leave. "Elliot." His voice stopped me cold. Eyes open, glinting in the dark. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Something like that." "Come here." My pulse roared. "Why?" "Because I asked." I should have refused. But my feet moved anyway. I sat on the edge of the mattress, rigid. He shifted, making space without touching me. "You're shaking," he murmured. "Cold? Liar." He reached out slowly, gave me time to pull away. I didn't. His fingers brushed my wrist, then higher, tracing my arm. Warmth spread like wildfire. "You hide well," he said quietly. "But not from me." Panic spiked. "I don't know what you, Omega?" The word hung between us. I tried to bolt. His hand caught mine, not hard but firm. "I won't hurt you," he said. "I swear it." Why should I believe the Alpha King who hates Omegas? His grip tightened for a second, then loosened. Surprise flickered across his face, then something darker. Regret? "You know who I am." It was hard not to. The ring. The scent. The arrogance. He laughed once. "I don't hate Omegas. I hate what the court does to them. I hate what they expect me to do. Claim, control, discard." I stared. "Then why are you here?" "Running. Same as you, I suspect." There was a long moment of silence. His thumb stroked the inside of my wrist in slow, absent circles. Heat pooled low in my belly despite the suppressants. "I should leave at dawn," he said. "You should." But neither of us moved. His gaze dropped to my lips. "Tell me to stop." I didn't. He leaned in, slow enough I could have stopped him. I tilted my head instead. The kiss started gentle. Testing. Then deeper. His hand cupped my jaw, tilting me closer. I opened for him without thinking, tasting rain and salt and something primal. A low growl rumbled in his chest. Alpha instinct. My body answered with a shiver I couldn't hide. When we broke apart, breathing hard, his forehead rested against mine. "This is dangerous," I whispered. "I know." "Then why?" "Because for the first time in years I don't feel like running." He pulled me down beside him. Not pushing. Just holding. I let him, curled against his side, his arm heavy over my waist. The storm howled outside. Inside, something quieter began to wake. I woke up tangled in sheets that smelled like him, cedar smoke, iron, and something darker like thunder waiting to break. Kai's arm was still slung over my waist, heavy and possessive even in sleep. I should have panicked. Instead I lay there counting his steady breaths against my neck, trying to convince myself this was temporary. One night. One mistake. Except it was already morning, and the storm had quieted to a low drizzle. Sunlight sliced through the curtains in thin gold blades. He stirred, fingers flexing against my stomach, then froze. "You're still here," he murmured, voice gravel rough from sleep. "You're still holding me." He didn't let go. Instead his thumb traced a slow line along my hip bone, barely there but enough to make my breath hitch. My suppressants usually dulled everything to gray. Right now color was bleeding back in, vivid and terrifying. "I should leave," he said, but made no move to. "You keep saying that." His lips brushed the shell of my ear. "And you keep letting me stay." I twisted to face him. "Bad idea." His eyes were half-lidded, pupils blown wide, the silver ring on his hand catching light as he lifted it to cup my cheek. The royal crest stared at me like an accusation. "Tell me why the Alpha King is hiding in an Omega's cabin instead of sitting on a throne surrounded by guards," I said. He exhaled through his nose. "Because the throne is a cage and the guards are jailers. And because 3 nights ago someone tried to poison me at a mating ceremony I refused to attend." My stomach twisted. "They wanted you to claim an Omega?" "They wanted me to choose one they approved of. A political match. When I walked out, they decided a dead king was better than a disobedient one." His jaw clenched. "I fought my way out. Took a horse, rode until it dropped, then kept going on foot. Ended up here." I searched his face. No lie in those storm-gray eyes. Just exhaustion and something rawer, loneliness that matched my own. "So you're a fugitive king," I said. "And I'm harboring you. Technically you're harboring a man named Kai who got lost in the woods. Technically you're lying on top of an unregistered Omega." His gaze darkened. "Unregistered. I never presented publicly. Never registered. I take suppressants, live off-grid, pay taxes through a beta proxy. I don't exist in their system." He studied me like I was a puzzle he wanted to solve with his teeth. "How long?" 6 years. "Alone?" I nodded. Something flickered across his face. Admiration, maybe, or hunger. "You're stronger than most alphas I know." Heat crawled up my throat. "Flattery won't make me trust you." "I don't want trust." His hand slid to the back of my neck, thumb pressing lightly against my pulse. "I want 5 more minutes like this. Then I'll go." 5 minutes became 10. Then 20. We didn't speak much. Just breathed together, bodies pressed close, his heartbeat thudding against my chest like it wanted inside. Every time I shifted, his grip tightened, instinct, not force. I felt the low rumble in his throat when my fingers accidentally brushed the bandage on his side. Not pain. What? When the kettle started whistling on the stove, I'd set it earlier on autopilot, I finally pulled away. Breakfast, I muttered, cheeks burning. He watched me move around the tiny kitchen like I was performing some ancient ritual. I scrambled eggs, toasted bread over the fire, poured coffee so strong it could wake the dead. He ate sitting at the table, legs spread, looking entirely too comfortable in my space. You cook like you're feeding an army, he said between bites. I cook like I'm feeding myself for a week. You're just benefiting. He smirked. Lucky me. After breakfast he insisted on helping clean. A king washing dishes in my chipped sink should have been ridiculous. Instead it was intimate. His sleeves rolled to the elbows, forearms corded with muscle, water dripping down his wrists. I kept stealing glances until he caught me. Like what you see. I scowled. Don't get cocky. Too late. He dried his hands, stepped closer. I backed up until my spine hit the counter. Caged but not trapped. I could have pushed him away. I didn't. His head dipped. Tell me to stop. I grabbed his shirt instead, yanked him down. This kiss was hungrier. Less careful. His hands framed my face, tilting me exactly how he wanted, tongue sliding against mine in slow, deliberate strokes that made my knees weak. I made a sound, embarrassing, needy, and he growled in answer, pressing me harder against the counter. Heat flared low in my belly, sharp and insistent. My suppressants were losing ground fast. He broke away first, breathing ragged. Forehead pressed to mine. You're going into heat soon, he said quietly. I stiffened. No. I took a double dose yesterday. Your scent is changing. Sweeter. Hotter. His nostrils flared. It's faint, but I can smell it. And if I can smell it, panic clawed up my throat. Then you need to leave. Now. I'm not leaving you like this. I've handled heats alone for years. Not anymore. I shoved at his chest. He didn't budge. You don't get to decide that. You don't even know me. I know enough. His voice dropped. I know you're terrified of being claimed. I know you think alphas only want to own. I know you're shaking right now because part of you wants me to stay, and the rest of you hates that you want it. Tears stung my eyes. I hated him for seeing it. Hated myself more. I won't claim you, he said. Not without your word. But I'm not leaving you to suffer alone in the middle of nowhere while every rogue within 50 miles smells fresh Omega and heat. I stared at him. Why do you care? Because the moment I walked through that door, something in me recognized you. He swallowed. And I think the same thing happened to you. I wanted to deny it. Couldn't. Instead I whispered, stay. Just stay. Relief crashed over his face like a wave. He pulled me into his arms, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. Not possessive. Protective. We spent the day like that, quiet, careful. He chopped wood outside while I pretended to read. Every time he came in, sweaty and flushed from work, he'd find me, press a kiss to my temple, my wrist, the corner of my mouth. Small touches. Promises. By evening my skin felt too tight. Every brush of fabric was electric. His scent was everywhere, sinking into my lungs, making my head swim. We ate dinner in near silence. Afterward he built the fire higher, dragged every blanket I owned to the rug in front of the hearth. Lie down, he said softly. I did. He stretched out beside me, propped on one elbow, watching my face like I might disappear. When the first cramp hit, sharp, twisting, I gasped. He moved instantly, pulling me against his chest, one hand splayed over my stomach, radiating warmth. Breathe, he murmured. I've got you. I curled into him, trembling. His scent enveloped me, safe, grounding. The cramps eased, replaced by slow-building heat that wasn't pain anymore. His lips found my temple. Tell me what you need. You, I whispered. Just you. He kissed me then, deep, languid like we had all the time in the world. Hands roamed but never pushed. He mapped my ribs, my spine, the dip of my waist, learning me by touch. I arched into every caress, drowning in sensation. When the wave crested and my body shook apart in his arms, he held me through it, whispering nonsense against my hair, praise, promises, my name like a prayer. Afterward we lay tangled, sweat cooling on our skin, fire crackling low. You didn't, I started. I don't need to. His fingers carted through my damp hair. This is enough. But it wasn't. Not really. Because outside, the drizzle had stopped. And in the distance, faint but growing, came the sound of horses. Search parties. They were coming. The hoofbeats grew louder, deliberate, organized. Not a random patrol. A hunt. I shot upright on the rug, heart slamming against my ribs. Kai was already moving, silent and lethal, pulling on his torn shirt in one fluid motion. The fire had died to embers. The room smelled of wood smoke and us. How many? I whispered. He tilted his head, listening. 6. Maybe 7. Modded. Armed. His eyes met mine, calm, but the storm inside them had returned. They're tracking me. Of course they are. You're the king. Was. He grabbed his coat from the chair, checked the knife still strapped to his ankle. Stay inside. Lock the door behind me. I caught his wrist. You're not going out there alone. Elliot. No, my voice cracked. If they find you here, they find me too. And I'm not hiding anymore. He stared at me for a heartbeat, long enough that I saw the war behind his eyes. Duty versus whatever this was between us. Then he nodded once, sharp. Stay close. Don't shift unless I tell you to. I almost laughed. Shift? I hadn't let my wolf surface in years. Suppressants kept him locked down so tight I sometimes forgot I had one. We slipped out the back. The night air was cold, damp, carrying the scent of wet pine and horse sweat. Kai moved like shadow, pulling me behind him toward the tree line. My cabin sat on a small rise. Below us a narrow trail snaked through the forest, the only way in or out. They appeared at the bottom of the slope. 6 riders in dark cloaks, silver royal insignia glinting under moonlight. One held a lantern high. Another carried a crossbow. The lead rider, a tall beta with a scarred jaw, lifted his head and sniffed the air. Fresh scent, he called. Omega in heat and the king's blood. They're close. My stomach plummeted. My heat. Even muted, it had leaked through the cracks. Kai's hand found mine, squeezed once, hard. Stay. The riders dismounted, fanning out. 2 circled left toward the cabin. 2 right. The scarred one and his lantern bearer came straight up the rise. Kai pulled me deeper into the trees, silent as death. We crouched behind a fallen log. My pulse roared in my ears. They'll search the house first, he breathed against my ear. When they don't find me, they'll track the scent trail. We need to move, now. Where? West. There's an old hunter's blind half a mile out. We can lose them in the ravine. I nodded. We waited until the lantern light bobbed inside my cabin windows, then slipped away. We ran. Not full sprint. Kai was still injured and I wasn't built for long distance, but fast enough that branches whipped my face and my lungs burned. His hand never left mine. Every time I stumbled, he steadied me without breaking stride. Behind us, a shout. Then dogs, 2 maybe 3, bang. They'd found the scent. Faster, Kai growled. We hit the ravine. Steep drop, rocky bottom, a thin stream cutting through. Kai didn't hesitate. He swung me onto his back, jumped. The fall stole my breath. We landed hard. Pain shot through my ankle, but I bit it back. He set me down, pulled me into a shallow cave mouth half hidden by roots. Inside. We pressed against damp stone. The dog's howls echoed closer. Kai's arms came around me from behind, one hand covering my mouth gently. Not to silence me, to muffle my breathing. His chest rose and fell against my back, steady despite everything. Minutes crawled. The dogs passed overhead, snarling. Hooves thundered past. Voices shouted coordinates, curses. Then silence. Not real silence. The kind that waits. Kai eased his hand away. They doubled back. They know we're close. I turned in his arms. His face was pale in the dark, jaw set. Blood had seeped through the bandage again. You're bleeding. Old news. I pressed my palm to his side. Warm. What? We can't keep running like this. We don't have a choice. Yes, we do. I met his eyes. Leave me. Ride out alone. They want you, not some backwoods Omega. His expression hardened. No, Kai, I said no. He cupped my face, thumbs brushing my cheekbones. I'm not leaving you for them to find. Not after tonight. Not ever. The words landed like stones in still water. Ripples spread through me, fear, hope, something terrifyingly close to love. Then we fight, I said. He searched my face, then nodded. We waited another hour. The search party circled back twice more, but each time they moved farther away. Either they'd lost the trail or they were baiting us. Kai finally stood. We go north. There's a river, fast current, cold enough to mask scent. If we cross it, we can disappear for a day or 2. And then? Then I figure out how to end this without a crown on my head or a noose around it. We moved again, slower now, careful. My ankle throbbed, but I ignored it. Kai kept glancing back, checking me, checking the shadows. Halfway to the river, it started raining again. Art. The kind of rain that washes tracks and sends into nothing. We reached the bank just before dawn. The water was black, angry, swollen from the storm. Kai stripped off his coat, handed it to me. Wrap this around you. It'll help with the cold. I did. His scent clung to the fabric, comforting, grounding. He stepped into the current first, testing the depth. Waist high. Strong pull. He held out his hand. Together. I took it. The water hit like a slap, ice cold, stealing breath. We waited, then swam when it deepened. Kai kept me close, one arm locked around my waist. Current dragged at us. Rocks bruised my shins. I focused on his heartbeat against my side, steady, alive. We made the far bank, gasping, shivering. Collapsed on wet moss. Rain pounded down. Kai pulled me against him, shielding me with his body. His teeth chattered, but he still managed a crooked smile. Still think I should have left you? I laughed, shaky, half hysterical. You're insane. Probably. He kissed me then, hard, desperate, tasting of river and rain and relief. I kissed back just as fiercely, fingers in his wet hair, anchoring myself to him. When we broke apart, foreheads pressed together, he whispered, I'm not losing you, Elliot. Not to them. Not to anything. I believed him. But in the gray light of false dawn, across the river, torchlight flickered again. They hadn't given up. They were crossing. We scrambled up the far bank, mud sucking at our boots, rain sheeting off our skin like we'd been dipped in the river twice over. Kai kept me in front of him now, shielding my back instead of leading. Every few steps he glanced over his shoulder, listening for the splash of hooves hitting water. They're crossing, he said low. 2 minutes, maybe less. My ankle screamed with each step, but adrenaline turned the pain distant, bearable. We hit a narrow game trail winding uphill through dense firs. The trees closed in, swallowing sound, swallowing light. Dawn was coming, gray and reluctant. Kai stopped abruptly, hand flat against my chest to halt me. His head cocked. Voices. Downwind. I strained to hear. Nothing at first, then faint fragments carried on the breeze. Sense stronger here, kings with him. Take the Omega alive if possible. My blood turned to ice. Alive if possible. The rest didn't need saying. Kai's eyes met mine. No panic. Just cold calculation. We can't outrun them forever, he said. Not with you limping and me bleeding. So what now? He scanned the terrain, steep slope to our left, thicker woods right, a rocky outcrop ahead. His gaze locked on the outcrop. There. High ground. Narrow approach. We make them come single file. You want to fight 6 men? 7 probably. And dogs. He gave a grim smile. I've had worse odds. I stared at him. You're insane. Already established. He squeezed my shoulder. But I'm not letting them take you. Not to use as bait, not to punish me, not for anything. Something cracked open inside my chest. Fear and fury and a fierce, aching protectiveness I hadn't known I could feel. For him. For us. Then we fight together, I said. He searched my face, then nodded once. Stay behind me unless I fall. Then run. No heroics. No promises. We climbed the outcrop, jagged granite shelves, slick with rain. At the top was a shallow bowl maybe 10 feet across, backed by a sheer drop on 3 sides. Only one real way up, a steep, narrow chute between boulders. Perfect choke point. Kai positioned himself at the mouth of the chute, knife in one hand, the other pressed to his side. Blood soaked through his fingers again. He didn't complain. I crouched behind him, heart hammering. My wolf, buried so long under suppressants, stirred. Claws pricked under my nails. I let him rise just enough to sharpen my senses, not enough to lose control. The first dog came bounding up the chute, black and massive, lips peeled back. Kai met it mid-leap, knife flashing. A choked yelp, then silence. The body tumbled back down. Shouts below. Angry now. 2 men appeared next, swords drawn, moving cautious. Kai waited until they were committed, then lunged. He was fast. Brutally efficient. One went down with a gurgle, the other staggered back, clutching his throat. But the second managed a wild swing. Kai twisted, took the blade along his ribs instead of through them. Fresh blood sprayed. I didn't think. I moved. I launched myself at the wounded guard, tackling him low. We hit the ground hard. His sword clattered away. My hands found his throat, wolf strength surging, and squeezed until his eyes rolled back. Kai hauled me up. You okay? I nodded, shaking. Blood on my hands. Not mine. More coming. 3 this time. The scarred beta from earlier led them, crossbow leveled. Stand down, your majesty, he called. Or the Omega dies first. Kai stepped in front of me completely. You touch him, you die screaming. The beta smirked. Bold words for a man bleeding out. He raised the crossbow. Time slowed. I saw the bolt coming, saw Kai tense to take it for me. I didn't let him. I shoved him hard to the side. The bolt punched into my shoulder instead, white-hot pain, then nothing but fire. I staggered, dropped to one knee. Kai roared. The sound wasn't human. He moved like a storm breaking. The scarred beta never got off a second shot. Kai's knife found his heart in one clean thrust. The other 2 guards hesitated, fatal mistake. Kai tore through them in seconds, brutal and precise. Bodies hit stone. Quiet returned, broken only by rain and my ragged breathing. He dropped beside me, hands shaking as he tore my shirt open around the wound. Elliot, look at me. I did. His face was pale, streaked with blood and rain. Eyes wild. The bolt's through, he said. I need to pull it. Do it. He gripped the shaft. Breathe out. I did. He yanked. Pain exploded, bright, blinding. I bit my lip until I tasted copper. Then it was out and he was pressing his coat against the hole hard. Stay with me, he whispered. You don't get to leave now. I tried to laugh. Came out as a wheeze. Wasn't planning to. He lifted me like I weighed nothing, cradled against his chest. We're not done running yet. He carried me down the far side of the outcrop, steeper, treacherous, but away from the bodies in the trail. My head lolled against his shoulder. The world narrowed to his heartbeat, his scent, the steady rhythm of his steps. We reached a small overhang, barely a cave but dry. He set me down gently, propped against the rock wall. Hold this, he said, guiding my good hand to the makeshift bandage. Then he tore strips from his own shirt, working fast to bind the wound properly. When he finished, he sat beside me, pulled me into his lap so my injured side was protected. His arms wrapped around me, careful, fierce. They'll find the bodies soon, I murmured. More will come. Let them. His voice was low, dangerous. I'm done hiding. I tilted my head back to see his face. What does that mean? It means I'm taking back what's mine. His fingers brushed my cheek. Starting with you. My heart stuttered. I'm not property. No, he leaned down, lips brushing mine, soft, reverent. You're mine because you chose me. And I'm yours because I can't breathe without you anymore. The kiss that followed was slow, deep, full of everything we hadn't said. Rain drummed outside. Pain throbbed in my shoulder, in his side. None of it mattered. When we parted, he rested his forehead against mine. We rest here till dark, he said. Then we head for Blackthorn Keep, my cousin's stronghold. He's loyal. He'll shelter us long enough to gather allies. And then? Then I end the council that tried to kill me. And I change the laws that made you hide for 6 years. I searched his eyes. Saw truth there. Saw future. Okay, I whispered. He kissed my temple. Sleep if you can. I've got you. I closed my eyes, listening to the rain, to his heartbeat. For the first time in years I didn't feel alone. But in the distance, faint, growing, came the howl of fresh dogs. They weren't finished with us yet. The dogs' howls faded behind us as night fell properly, thick and black. Kai carried me most of the way. My shoulder throbbed too badly to argue, and my ankle had swollen into something useless. Every step he took jarred fresh pain through both of us, but he never slowed, never complained. His breathing stayed even when blood from his reopened wounds soaked through what was left of his shirt and into mine. We reached Blackthorn Keep just before midnight. The fortress crouched on a low ridge like a sleeping beast, gray stone walls, narrow arrow slits, torches flickering along the battlements. No banners flew tonight, the gates were shut tight. Kai stopped at the edge of the treeline, still holding me against his chest. Last chance to run the other way, he murmured. I pressed my forehead to his jaw. We're past chances. He kissed my temple, quick, fierce, then stepped into the open. A sentry's voice cracked from the wall. Halt. Identify. Caius, he called back, voice carrying without effort. Open the gate, cousin. I'm home. Silence. Then a scramble of boots, a shout relayed inside. The portcullis groaned upward inch by inch. We walked through. Guards flanked us immediately, tense, weapons half drawn, but one look at Kai's face and they lowered steel. A tall man in a dark green cloak pushed through the line. Same storm-gray eyes as Kai, same sharp jaw but softer around the edges. Younger. Relieved. Cousin, he breathed. We thought you were dead. Close enough. Kai shifted me in his arms. This is Elliot. He's hurt. Get the healer. Now. The man, Lord Rowan Blackthorn, didn't hesitate. He barked orders. 2 guards lifted me gently from Kai's hold despite my weak protest. Kai followed close, hand brushing my good arm the whole way through torchlit corridors. They settled me in a guest chamber, wide bed, roaring fire, furs piled high. The healer arrived fast, older beta woman with steady hands and no nonsense. She cut away the ruined bandage, cleaned the bolt wound, stitched it with quick, sure movements. Kai paced the entire time, arms crossed, eyes never leaving me. When she finished wrapping fresh linen and left a vial of pain draft, Rowan lingered at the door. Council's declared you traitor, he said quietly. They're saying you murdered your own guards and fled with an unregistered Omega. Bounties high. Kai's laugh was short, bitter. They tried to poison me at the betrothal feast. When that failed, they sent assassins. I defended myself. The Omega saved my life tonight. Rowan's gaze flicked to me, assessing. He's not just any Omega. No, Kai said softly. He's mine. The word landed heavy in the quiet room. Rowan studied us both another moment, then nodded once. Rest. We'll talk strategy at first light. The keep is yours. Always has been. He left. The door clicked shut. Kai sank onto the edge of the bed, elbows on knees, head bowed. For the first time since he'd knocked on my cabin door, he looked exhausted, bone deep, unraveling. I reached out with my good hand, fingers brushing his. Hey. He caught my hand, pressed it to his cheek. His eyes closed. I almost lost you today, he said. Twice. You didn't. But I could have. His thumb traced my knuckles. I've spent years convincing myself I didn't need anyone. That attachments were weakness. Then you opened your door and everything I believed shattered in one night. I swallowed. Same. He leaned down slowly, gave me time to turn away. I didn't. His lips met mine, gentle at first, almost careful, like he was afraid I'd break. Then deeper. Hungrier. His hand cupped the back of my neck, tilting me into the kiss. I arched toward him despite the pain, fingers curling into his hair. Heat bloomed between us, slow, consuming. When we parted, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against mine. I love you, he whispered. I don't care if it's too soon. I don't care if the whole kingdom burns for it. I love you, Elliot. My chest cracked open. Tears stung my eyes, not from pain. I love you too, I said. Even when you were bleeding on my floor and acting like an arrogant ass. A small, broken laugh escaped him. He kissed me again, soft this time, lingering. When he pulled back, he helped me lie down properly, then stretched out beside me on top of the covers. One arm draped carefully over my waist, avoiding the stitches. Sleep, he murmured against my hair. I'm not going anywhere. I believed him. Morning came too soon. Rowan's strategy council met in the great hall, long oak table, maps spread wide, a dozen loyal faces. Kai stood at the head, still bandaged but clean, wearing borrowed black leathers that made him look every inch the king again. I sat beside him, shoulder strapped, ankle propped on a stool. No one questioned my presence. They control the capital, Rowan said, tapping the map. But they don't control the northern houses. Not yet. If we move fast, send ravens, call banners, we can rally enough forces to march before they consolidate. Kai nodded. We don't march for war. We march for proof. The poison vial I kept is in my saddlebag, still sealed. Chemists can trace it to House Vera. That's treason. Public trial. Public execution if they resist. A murmur rippled through the room. One captain spoke up. And the Omega laws? The registration decrees? Kai's hand found mine under the table, squeezed. First act as restored king. Abolish mandatory registration. No more forced presentations. No more bounties on unregistered Omegas. Heat suppressants legal and subsidized. Anyone who tries to enforce the old ways answers to me. Silence. Then nods. Slow at first, then firm. Rowan smiled, small, proud. You've changed. Kai looked at me. Someone reminded me what strength actually looks like. The meeting broke. Plans were set. Ravens tonight, scouts tomorrow, full march in 3 days if the houses answered. Kai walked me back to the chamber himself. Slow, arm around my waist to steady me. You really mean it? I asked quietly. All of it. Every word. He stopped in the corridor, turned me to face him. I spent years hating what the crown demanded of me. hating Omegas because the court treated them like prizes or pawns. Then I met you, alone, fierce, surviving on your own terms, and I realized I was the one who'd been weak, hiding behind disdain instead of fighting for something real. He cupped my face. I'm fighting now. For you. For every Omega who's had to hide. For us. I leaned into his touch. Then fight clean. No more running. No more bleeding out in forests. Deal. He kissed me there in the shadowed hallway, deep, unhurried, full of promise. When we parted, his eyes were bright. Rest, he said. I have ravens to send. I watched him walk away, shoulders straight, steps sure. For the first time, I believed we might actually win. But late that night, while Kai slept beside me, a raven tapped at the window, black wings, red ribbon tied to its leg. I opened the message with shaking fingers. One line in elegant script. We have your sister. Come alone or she dies. Signed with the seal of House Vera. My blood ran cold. The raven's message burned in my hand like live coal. I reread the single line 3 times, hoping the words would rearrange themselves into something less cruel. We have your sister. Come alone or she dies. House Vera seal stared back at me, crimson wax, sharp-edged stag antlers. They'd found Mara. My little sister, the only family I had left after our parents died in the border skirmishes 8 years ago. I'd hidden her in a quiet beta village south of the capital, sent money when I could, visited twice a year under a false name. I thought she was safe. I thought I'd protected her by staying away. I was wrong. Kai slept deeply beside me, one arm thrown across my waist, face slack with exhaustion he'd never admit to. Moonlight carved sharp shadows under his eyes. I traced the line of his jaw with my fingertips, soft, careful, then slipped out of bed. My shoulder screamed when I moved, but I swallowed the hiss. I dressed one-handed, dark cloak, boots, the knife Kai had given me yesterday tucked into my sleeve. The pain draft the healer left sat untouched on the bedside table. I couldn't risk dull senses. I wrote the note on a scrap of parchment by candlelight. Kai, they have Mara. Vera. I'm going to the old mill at Greyford Crossing. Alone. Don't follow. This is mine to fix. If I don't come back, know I love you. Burn this when you read it. I folded it, pressed it into his palm while he slept. His fingers closed around it instinctively. I kissed his forehead, barely a brush, and left before I could change my mind. The keep was quiet. I took a side gate, avoided patrols, melted into the forest. Dawn was still hours away. My ankle protested every step, shoulder throbbed in time with my pulse, but fear for Mara drowned everything else. Greyford Crossing was a 3-hour ride if you pushed the horse. I walked. No choice. By the time the ruined mill appeared on the horizon, black skeleton against gray sky, my clothes clung with sweat and my vision swam. I stepped into the open. 4 men waited. 2 in Vera livery, 2 plainclothes but armed to the teeth. In the center stood Lord Cashin Vera himself, tall, silver-haired, the same cold elegance that had once made him Kai's most trusted advisor. Mara knelt at his feet, wrists bound, gag in her mouth, eyes wide with terror when she saw me. Elliot, Cashin said pleasantly. Punctual. I admire that. Let her go. My voice came out steadier than I felt. You want me, not her. Oh, I want both. He smiled thinly. The king's little forest Omega has become quite the prize. And your sister? Leverage. Simple. I took another step. Release her. I'll come willingly. Cashin tilted his head. You think you're in a position to bargain? I think you're afraid of what happens if Kai finds out you touched his mate. The word slipped out before I could stop it. Mate. Not claimed, not yet, but the truth of it rang in the air anyway. Cashin's smile faltered for half a second. Then he laughed. Bold. But the king is dead. Or will be soon. We have men inside Blackthorn. Tonight ends the rebellion before it begins. My stomach dropped. You're lying. Am I? He gestured. One guard dragged Mara upright by her hair. She whimpered behind the gag. Rage surged hot, blinding. My wolf clawed to the surface, suppressants be damned. Claws lengthened, vision sharpened. I felt the shift ripple under my skin. Cashin's eyes narrowed. Control yourself, Omega. Or she bleeds first. I forced the wolf back. Barely. Then hoofbeats, fast, furious, thundered from the treeline. Kai exploded into the clearing on a black warhorse, sword already drawn, face a mask of lethal calm. Behind him, Rowan and a dozen Blackthorn riders, cloaks streaming. Cashin's composure cracked. How? You sent a raven to my own keep, Kai said, voice ice. Sloppy. He dismounted in one fluid motion, strode forward. Guards moved to intercept. His blade met theirs. Metal sang. Two fell in as many heartbeats. I moved at the same time, lunged for Mara. The guard holding her swung at me. I ducked, drove my knife into his thigh. He howled. I yanked Mara free, shoved her behind me. Cassian drew his own sword. You should have stayed gone, Caius. Kai smiled, cold, dangerous. And you should have remembered who trained you. They clashed. It was over fast. Cassian was skilled, but Kai was fury given form. A feint, a twist, a brutal downward strike. Cassian's sword flew from his hand. He dropped to his knees, blood pouring from a gash across his chest. Kai pressed the tip to his throat. Yield. Cassian spat blood. The council will never accept an Omega consort. Kai leaned closer. Then they can kneel or die. Either way, the laws change tomorrow. He looked at me, eyes softening for one heartbeat, then back to Cassian. Tell your allies the king lives. Tell them the Omega who saved him will stand at his side. Tell them anyone who comes for him, or his family, answers to me. Cassian glared, but the fight had bled out of him. He nodded once. Kai stepped back. Take him. Alive. He stands trial with the rest. Rowan's men moved in. I turned to Mara. She was shaking, tears streaking her face. I cut her bonds, pulled the gag free. She threw her arms around me, sobbing. I thought you were dead, she whispered. They said, I'm here. I held her tight. I'm here. Kai approached slowly. Mara stiffened when she saw him, the Alpha King, bloodied, towering. But he knelt so they were eye level. You're safe now, he said gently. I swear it. She searched his face, then looked at me. Saw whatever she needed to see. She nodded, small and shaky. Kai rose, offered me his hand. I took it. We rode back to Blackthorn at dawn, me in front of him on the same horse, Mara riding double with Rowan. The wound in my shoulder had reopened. I barely felt it. Kai's arms stayed locked around my waist, solid, warm. In the courtyard he helped me down, then pulled me against him, careful of injuries, fierce in every other way. You left, he said against my hair. Oh, bro. I had to. I know. He exhaled. Never again. I tilted my head back. Promise. He kissed me then, slow, deep, right there in front of guards and cousin and sister. No hesitation. No hiding. When we parted, his thumb brushed my lower lip. Marry me, he said. Not a question. A vow. Not because the court demands it. Because I can't imagine another day without you beside me. Because you're my mate, Elliot. My equal. My home. Tears blurred my vision. I laughed, soft, broken, happy. Yes. He kissed me again, longer this time, full of everything we'd survived. When we finally broke apart, Mara was smiling through tears. Rowan clapped Kai on the shoulder, grinning. About time, Rowan muttered. Months later the decrees were read in every square. Registration abolished, suppressants free, Omegas granted full rights. The council that tried to kill Kai was dismantled. Trials swift, sentences just. Cassian Vera rotted in a cell. Kai and I stood on the balcony of the royal apartments the night it all became law. No crown on his head tonight, just us wrapped in one cloak against the autumn chill. He turned me to face him, fingers tracing the faint scar on my shoulder. No more hiding, he said. No more running. He kissed my mating mark, fresh, permanent, placed with my full consent under the full moon 2 weeks earlier. Heat bloomed where his lips touched. I love you, he whispered. I love you too. Below us the city lights glittered. Somewhere in the distance a wolf howled, free, unafraid. We answered with one of our own. Thanks for watching all through this story. Please subscribe, like and share for more. Thank you.